I appreciate everybody coming today. I was in private practice for like about 26 years. It was 26 years before I came to work for the Department of Agriculture. Today I kind of wanted to give an update as far as where we're at from PED and a little bit of background information. I work for the Department of Agriculture. Secretary Bill Northey is an elected official in the state of Iowa. He was also attending the breakfast that I was at this morning. Just a background as far as numbers. We track our imports, and certainly we do import a lot of animals as far as into our state each and every day. And for the purpose of this presentation, I just included the swine numbers and our imports this last year. However, you'll note as far as on here, last year you'll see, and hopefully this shines up, the figures where we imported the year before. So we were down in this last year. Was that a result of PED or other influences? You can draw your own conclusions as far as from that. But our import numbers have been steadily going up as far as in our feeder swine for the last several years. We have 5 state district veterinarians surrounding the state. They're involved in our day-to-day operations and working with veterinarians and veterinary hospitals, as well as many other roles that they serve. We also, as far as in our state, we work with USDA Veterinary Services. So there may have been one of those individuals that has been in contact with you. We do things cooperatively in our state, and certainly as far as in our working with SECD or PED, as far as since its finding and first reporting from out of our diagnostic lab here in Ames, everything that we do is in a cooperative mode as far as in getting those reports and following up with veterinarians and working with the diagnostic lab. We also have 8 livestock inspectors that work for the Department of Agriculture. So here, as far as SECD in Iowa, and I know my time is limited, these are the most current numbers that I have. That just represents the numbers of positives and presumptive positives from a laboratory diagnosis. It doesn't show you as far as where those were at. And certainly prior to the USDA Secretary of Agriculture's order mandating reporting, that was all that we had in the initial part. This shows you a dispersion map as far as where all these positive premises have been as far as in the state of Iowa since June 5th. It's just details as far as on those. Indeed, many of those have gone negative. They're grow-out barns or they were nurseries. Some are sow barns that certainly have gone negative. They just have not completed the process as far as getting the verification on going to negative and doing the additional testing. But some of these grow-out barns have had a couple of turns since they first became positive. The numbers, the most current map that was on the weekly reporting from USDA certainly shows we're in the heartland, and the numbers are reflected as far as on this map. These reports come out. I received those. All of those states that have had PED or SECD or swine delta coronavirus, those all come in a weekly report, and I distribute those out to those state animal health officials in those other states. But it's posted on the American Association of Swine Veterinarians site, as well as the USDA APHIS website if you're interested and you do want to see those numbers and graphs and charts as they go. The Secretary's order last June 5th at the World Pork Expo, and certainly here as far as some of the definitions that ended up coming out. And I'm not going to read my slides. Certainly you can read those as far as what they are. Many of you know what a positive site is or a presumptive positive site. Confirmed positive case, it's tested positive, and there's the history as far as clinical signs as far as on that premises. The federal order, mandatory reporting, came from USDA. It is a requirement to report. So our veterinary diagnostic labs, the primary ones that do the swine testing, which are in the upper Midwest area, they report those test results. And now it's been developed into a process to where it can be moved into another system so we can track all of those. And our district veterinarians can follow up with the herd veterinarians and making sure that the herd management plans are completed. The reporting information submitted, the requirements, it was spelled out in the federal order, the premises, sample collection date, on down the line. And the herd management plan need to be completed by the herd veterinarian. The herd management plans do not get sent in, but it's mandatory that there's a herd management plan. The veterinarians in these instances, they have herd management plans on the commercial operations in our state. It's a routine thing that they have. They've been in place before, even PED. But it's mandatory that they're reported and that it's reported that there is a herd management plan within 45 days. The different issues that need to be addressed in the herd management plan, and again, those are not sent into our office or the federal office. And I brought this map back up again as far as just to reiterate the numbers and where this spread has gone as far as throughout the United States. And that goes back with all those that move around this country and into Canada or out of Canada. Here, this shows the Delta coronavirus reporting, the latest figures as far as on that, as well as those where it was a co-infection. It's down to that level as far as in reporting, and the total numbers there. Certainly we're starting to, or we have seen a trend, at least this year, to this point in time, those numbers, those confirmed positive premises, certainly it has gone down. I don't know that we can truly draw any firm conclusions at this point in time, but it is, at least to me, a glimmer of hope as far as all of the things that have been done, the enhanced biosecurity practices at the farm level has really paid off. And those that certainly avoided and already had the biosecurity practices in place, those individuals, because of their numbers and their production levels remained normal, they made money. And that's part of why you're in production. So with this, we'll see as time goes on, and it will be interesting to follow these trends. The initial reporting, again, within 45 days, general information. For the veterinarians, we have a spreadsheet. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Fine. You fill in these blanks, and then it's sent in as an email attachment, and it's just all entered into the system. The reporting, I wanted to cover this as far as for the most current figures that I received. This is as far as yesterday, and I get these reports. We do have some herd plans that are over 45 days. There's 75. And so our district veterinarians have made contact with the herd veterinarians, and we will be getting those reduced. So if you're a swine veterinarian, as far as in the room, if you haven't submitted them, we will be contacting you. We probably already have contacted you, but I will probably be contacting you. We want to get this resolved as far as in Iowa. The declaration for a negative herd, this came out last fall. What do you do? How do you get to negativity? And with our Iowa Pork Producers Association and the Swine Health Advisory Committee, this was a concern in the beginning when mandatory reporting came out. And we met with them. And USDA finally came out. Here is how you get negativity and what you have to do. And it's spelled out. And certainly, if you've done those management practices in a finisher, you've made a turn, you've done all the good cleaning and disinfection, and you've done the required testing as far as for that, we want to get you out and off the list, and hopefully you remain negative. Doesn't mean that you can't get it again in the future, as we know. The instructions are spelled out. I can get those to you, herd veterinarians, whoever, as far as for that. I know this is too small to read, but it is spelled out. The instructions for all in, all out facilities, the breeding barns, on down the line, it is addressed. I just tried to pull some of those key elements as far as out of here. There's a negative herd form. It gets submitted. Fine. Yep. It gets entered into the general information, and that herd goes to a negative status. And again, doesn't mean that it will stay negative forever. Everybody still needs to do their proper biosecurity practices. Where we're at here, those are the numbers again, as far as from the maps. The positive accessions total, just straight from the list that comes in, reported each week. Some of those may be environmental samples that are sent in. Does not mean those equate with positive herds. Truck wash, cleaning, and disinfection. We do have a cooperative agreement with USDA, our state and federal district veterinarians. We started this last fall in the end of October, first part of November. And now we've partnered in with Iowa State University, Dr. Butch Baker, if you know him. They also received some funding, but we had already started down this path. We've got a common form now that we're using, and I do believe their intent is to reach out to some other swine states to gather this information. We do have permitted truck wash stations in the state of Iowa through our Department of Natural Resources, and we've gotten that information as well as additional information. We go out, we check. Some of these are privately owned. We're trying to encourage the use of disinfectant as far as in trucks. What has been approved, National Pork Board certainly has good handouts and information, and as we gather this information, we'll assimilate that. But when you have a truck coming on the farm and it's nice and clean, doesn't mean it had disinfectant. Certainly, we're finding that out. But to have all of those figures, we have not made a complete run as far as on those. But we are trying to get that list distilled down, at least as far as for the state of Iowa. Here's where they're at. This is what has been done. This is what they're doing. This is what they're using or not, and trying to get some numbers. So Iowa State University will be able to help as far as with those metrics. Premises identification numbers that came out also as far as a requirement for those laboratory submissions going in on these PED or SECD cases, as far as for USDA to pay for that testing. And it is a requirement, and along with the premises ID tag requirements for call sows and boars that came in the first of the year, certainly we've had a lot of calls. The swine industry in the state of Iowa, I do have to applaud you. You have been in a leadership role as far as having premises IDs. Some have had those for a long time, may have put them away. I know we're getting a lot of calls as far as getting those numbers again. Samples submitted from truck washes on down the line, they're not paid for. Okay? USDA was clear as far as about that. Premises ID, where does it go? Iowa State University, I use their form because they're the veterinary diagnostic lab in the state of Iowa. They do a very large share of swine testing in the U.S. Get your premises ID, work with your veterinarian, and have your veterinarian include that as far as on those submission forms. It works, it helps, it's easier as far as for the diagnostic lab to handle and process that information.